We'll call the White Bear Town Board meeting of June 15th, 2020 to order. First item on the agenda is the approval of the agenda. I see we have some changes, Patrick.
Yes, Mr. Chair, please, if it pleases the board, let's add as supplements to 5A. We'll put in as 5A2 a discussion on the Bel Air Beach shoreline stabilization. There'll be a concept plan, and then an added agenda item as 10A. Michael and Brianna Schaefer, 5731 Birch Road, are requesting for a 13% green area variance to allow construction of a home addition, driveway, and sidewalk. No additional changes or deletions, sir.
You want to have that 10A before open time, so just in case we do have...
Pleasure of the board.
Makes more sense, so the applicant, if they show they're not waiting for that.
So maybe we put that in as 8F.
Perfect.
Okay.
All right, do I have a motion to approve the agenda as amended?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Item number 3 is approval of payment of the bills. There were a mere, what, $500,000 worth there, wasn't there, Steve?
A few bills to pay. I'll make a motion to approve the payment of the bills.
I will second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Item number 4 is the approval of the minutes of June 1st, 2020.
Mr. Chair, minor changes made today. Beyond that, minutes are as is.
I'll move to approve the minutes of the June 1st, 2020 meeting with the minor corrections noted by the clerk.
I will second that motion.
All right, all in favor of the motion?
Aye.
All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Item number 5 is a consent agenda. We have 10. If the board has no reason to pull any off to discuss them, I'd look for a motion to approve.
I will move to approve the consent agenda as amended with the additional documents.
Do I have a second on the motion?
I'll second that motion.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Okay, moving on. Item 6 is old business. First one is ordinance number 69, tobacco.
Mr. Chair, this has been was presented to the board last meeting. I did get a last-minute memo from the person who's directing the Tobacco 21 to make a few minor changes to the ordinance as it was presented in your packet. Chad, do you want to talk a little bit about what we can or can't do with those this evening?
We can adopt those if you wish. I would suggest what you do if you're going to adopt the new tobacco ordinance, you'd simply, as an additional motion, move to amend the ordinance as presented to include those changes, those additions and changes set forth in the email of dated June 15th, 2020 from Kitty Engman. We could probably, if you wish, go through each, there's not that many changes, just go through which sections they're changing and what they're changing, so might be the better way to do it.
Any idea where she came up with all of these? Looks like one of them was Minnesota statute.
Yeah, I think one of them was. She had reason for each one of them, I think.
She did in her cover email
Yep.
that there's a typo. There's a typo, she said, and then to comply with the state
Yeah.
checks. Must. So,
How does this fee schedule compare to ours with the penalties? I don't know, I'm just seeing this for the first time tonight, so.
Yeah, it's more than what we do, that's for sure.
Well, is that something we're adopting then, or are we amending our ordinance for these fee schedules also?
Uh-huh. For this
Or-
one's,
Go ahead, I'm sorry.
Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Pat. Go ahead.
for this one specifically, yeah, we are.
And
If you want to. I mean, I don't think, do they have to adopt the fee structure, Chad? I mean.
Yes, they do, because according to this, these are the new minimum set forth in the statutes just adopted, laws just adopted, so yeah, you're bound by it.
All right, Scott, you got any concerns or questions with what she's got here?
No.
Steve?
Nope. Pretty straightforward.
All right, Chad, how do you want to handle this? Can we just blanket amend this?
You could, Mr. Chair, you could simply move to adopt the ordinance as presented, subject to amendment to Section 2, purpose and findings, amendment to Section 9, compliance checks and inspections, amendment to Section 12, penalties as set forth in the email dated June 15th, 2020, and incorporate those changes.
All right, and do you want to do that first before we adopt our amendments to the ordinance, or after?
Or is part of.
Part of? Can we do it all?
You
at
can
once?
do it all at once, yeah?
Okay. All right, well, if there's no other questions, what's the pleasure of the board?
Well, I'm in favor of moving forward, so I'll make a motion based on the staff review and recommendations, adopt the amendments to ordinance number 69, noting a couple of changes as put forth in an email dated June 15th, 2020, covering Section 2, some suggested wording to coincide with the statute, Section 9, compliance checks and inspections, and Section 12, the penalties that are statutory.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion's made, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? And then it looks like we want a second one of the approval of synopsis. Synopsis?
Good job.
I'll move to approve the synopsis of ordinance number 69.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and second, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? That motion carries. Then the third is adopt the resolution.
I'll move to adopt the resolution authorizing publication of the title and summary of amendments to ordinance number 69. Chad, do we have to put with those, these, noting these?
No, because the summary is just that. It's a
So
very
just the
short
summary?
summary.
Okay.
The summary that Patty prepared is adequate.
Okay.
Very good job, actually.
So as is.
And I will second that motion.
All right, motion made and second, all in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That makes it official.
There you go.
You have to be 21 to buy tobacco in the township. All right,
That's immediately in effect, right, Chad?
It is. Well, actually, no, it's not. It's not, doesn't go into effect until the ordinance is actually published.
Ah, got it.
So it's once the summary is published, then it goes into effect.
Okay.
and this affects what I believe we have 6 stores that sell tobacco?
Yes.
So then ultimately it'll comply with the law that goes into effect August.
Correct.
All right, moving on, item 6B, emergency management team report. Chad, or Patrick, which one are you gonna take?
Nothing to report there. I mean, from 1, 2, and 4, I can't speak for Chad, but, from an operations standpoint, we're back at, full-time. We are getting pretty steady traffic in the administrative offices now. Contract group meets this Thursday, so I'll probably have a little bit more of an update, from that standpoint for the next meeting. Ramsey County's 19 incident management has kind of been more focused on civil unrest. So we just, we haven't talked a lot about COVID-19 lately. So,
From the standpoint of executive orders, nothing's really changed for the township. I have tried to decode what the governor is trying to do when it comes to organized sports, and it's not particularly clear. Other than, the one thing is, you can open up your parks now completely.
yeah.
No limitations on parks. I think that, he might have done that 2 weeks ago. Again, it's hard to tell sometimes.
Does that also mean then, I believe we're gonna open up Bel Air Beach? We now have something set up with YMCA for lifeguards?
That was supposed to open today, right?
I believe they started Saturday.
Okay,
Oh, there we go.
all right, any questions or comments?
I think at the last board meeting, we made clear that our own internal emergency management team will still be in place
Yep.
in the event that things change locally. And I think we were gonna look at it again in 30 days, so do we need to put that on the agenda then for the next month?
I think we should keep it on for.
I was going to say, can't you just
while.
make it until rescind?
You might as well,
I
because,
keep waiting for the next thing to come.
Yes,
actually, I did note one thing,
I
that
know.
I believe the governor kept his emergency order in place till July 13th.
Okay. So that's perfect.
Yeah.
Actually, yeah.
Well, the only piece we, last meeting, we said we were going away from our emergency thing.
Right.
Keeping our emergency management team, so keep that parallel in case.
You could
there's-
continue to do that.
Yeah, okay, I think we should personally.
I do too.
Somewhat related, but not directly to this, but you'd mentioned at the office and how things are working out. So the substation is occupied now,
Yeah.
and comings and goings, it's working well?
It seems to be, yeah. I would say, and you're talking about deputies being,
Right.
in there, yeah, I would say we probably have them in 2-3 times a week, couple hours at a time,
Okay.
so.
Is the substation here still operating or not? Have they kind of moved to the town?
I think they've moved to the town.
Yeah, I didn't see any notes here even.
Yeah, so it's going very well.
Okay.
Yep.
Good.
All right, any other questions or comments? All right, moving on. Item number 7, we have a couple of public hearings. The first one is a conditional use permit for Tamarack Nature Center. I'd be looking for a motion to waive the reading.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That motion carries, and I need a motion to open the public hearing.
So moved?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Tom, it's all yours.
All right. Tamarack Nature Center within the township in the 1980s, or conditional use permit was first approved in the 1980s for Tamarack Nature Center. Seen a lot of changes since that time, and now they're proposing some additional amenities, changes to the Nature Center. It's located on Otter Lake Road, just south of County Road H2.
Hey, Patrick, can you maybe just kill that light above the screen? Is that possible or not?
That one?
It's gonna be the last one you pick.
And, oh, it's gonna have to be lower, so we'll have to do that.
There you go.
Good?
Some of the modifications they're talking about would be to the main building here, proposing to demo a portion of it. These two are existing here. They would add a new addition over here. This would be the, I believe, the programming portion of the building there. Talking about some additional trails, some natural trails, some paved trails, improving parking lot that was constructed a couple of years ago with the last upgrade, just improving it to parking, adding some trails connecting to that. Relocation of a sugar shack. It's on site here, well, I forget which one, might be this one here, to another portion of the site. Adding some picnic shelters. And I mentioned the bus parking lot. So several proposed additions to the site. This is kind of a master plan build-out of the site. What they're doing is applying for grant funding to do some of these improvements, hoping to get town approval for all the improvements, and so they can complete those over the years as the funding becomes available.
So this won't be at one time?
Not all of it will be at one time. Correct. Yeah, okay, so that's it in a nutshell here. It's been reviewed by the Planning Commission, and they did recommend approval of the conditional use permit. I see we have Ryan here from the county, and if you have any additional questions, so between the two of us, I think we can help you out with that.
Steve, questions, comments?
No, I sat through the planning commission conversation, and really, this has been, as the master plan has laid out, this is just the final phase of the master plan. The lighting, I can't remember, are you doing anything more to parking lot lighting? As out on Otter Lake Road
Hey,
area?
Steve, before you come up, can we get the questions from either Tom before we
Oh,
open up to the
sure.
public?
I can ask Tom I can ask Tom the same question. Was there any conversation about lighting Otter Lake Road or traffic as it comes across Otter Lake Road, as it gets more and more busy?
There are plans for additional parking lot lighting. There's no
You talking about
proposal for a
like the
street
walkway
light
there?
at the corner there.
More, parking lots, there's houses across the road. I know that the lighting is such that it's going to be, I'm assuming it's all directed
Downcast.
downcast or whatever you call it, but, and the last time, Tom, correct me if I'm wrong, when we were here, when they did the last expansion, there was concern by citizens of the traffic that crosses Otter Lake Road there, pedestrian crossing. Is this gonna, now that it's getting bigger, it's gonna have more impact?
Well, more traffic.
More
but I
traffic.
wouldn't say more impact. I don't believe we've received any concerns, complaints about the intersection there. Of course, the driveway was relocated. It was up here at one time. It was shifted, so now it intersects with the road there.
Tom, I know that back when the last remodel and parking lot was done, there was a resident concerned about the dumpster and the banging, and did that kind of go away?
No complaints.
Okay.
Dumpster's located in this area of the parking lot right here, and it's screened. Picked once a week, I would imagine.
Scott, you have any questions of Tom?
I guess just tailing off what you've been talking about, since the last reconstruction, you mentioned that there had been concerns raised prior to it. What have you heard since then?
Yeah. Again, nothing. We
Absolutely
didn't have any
nothing?
public attending the hearings or contacting us.
I think just the one gentleman was dumpster and lighting. That was his big concern, because I believe he's right across the road from it.
So on the lighting piece too, the
Well, I
lights,
tell you what, we'll get you
Okay.
just in a second. Anything else with Tom?
No.
No, I'm good.
All right, because what I need is a motion to open for public comment, so.
I'll move to open for public comment.
I will second that.
All right, motion made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right, so if you just state your name and for the record.
sure. Ryan Reese, I'm with Ramsey County. I'm our Parks and Recreation Facilities Director. I'm just so anxious to talk about the project, sorry. Putting in there. I just wanted to throw in on the lighting. So the lights that we put in on the lot the last time are dimmable and have motion sensors to them, so they're hardly ever on. So the lighting that we'd put in that other lot would be the same. So that really seems to mitigate the concern about lights on all night there.
Well, it looks like most of them show just strictly downcast.
They are, but I mean, but they're, from an energy perspective too, we have them on motion
Are they
detectors. so
LEDs?
They're LEDs, yep. So they'll dim down to a certain level. If somebody happens to drive in, then they'll come up a
How
little bit.
sensitive are they to like deer, rabbits?
It's a good question. That I don't know. I mean, they're fairly sensitive, so I'm guessing I would pick up a deer. A rabbit, probably not.
I hate to see neighbors calling every 20 minutes because the light keeps bouncing on because critters are running through the parking
Sure.
lot too.
I mean, we haven't had any feedback to that end, and Tom, I don't know if you have either, so.
That parking lot that south of the main driveway, that's currently gravel, that's
Yep.
where the, basically school buses park?
It's
That's what that's
overflow,
gonna-
it's overflow, but this would actually pave it.
For school buses or just?
Yeah, so like we'll get on day camps or school camps, buses that stay, if they're there for a couple hours. And so right now it's not really convenient. There's not a really convenient place to do that. So that would be the main function of that lot. There would be bus parking, short-term bus parking.
And Tom mentioned the Sugar Shack, that's that small, where is that exactly relocating?
It's currently, it's
It's
currently
there.
right there. It would get relocated, yeah. There you go to the
Back
west
off
side
the
there.
map someplace?
Yep.
Okay.
Is that it, Steve?
Nope, I'm
Yeah.
I'm good.
with it.
Well, I was on the planning commission back in the 90s when you guys were doing a lot of this stuff. My pet peeve has always been the master plan. We keep saying, this is the master plan, this is the master plan. Is this the master plan? Because it seems like every couple years, we see this, a huge renovation
Yeah.
and things going on, and it's like, are we ever going to see the end of this?
Yep. So the master plan you're referring to was completed, I think, in 2007. So the phases that have come previously to this board have been the build-out of that. This represents the last phase. However, to Tom's point, because of funding, this will also have sub-phases within it because we don't have funding to do all of this at once. So this is the last phase of our master plan. However, this one will get phased out over the next probably 6 or 7 years, frankly, depending on where the
So
funding
what you're
shakes out.
proposing here is going to take 6 or 7 years?
Not from a funding standpoint.
Well, what about a construction standpoint? Are we talking phase 1 this year, phase 2 next year? Is it gonna go past a couple of years, just in construction?
Potentially, and, you know, as I'm sure you're aware, COVID has kind of thrown funding and things up in the air, so, as soon as we're pursuing the funding, to do it sooner rather than later, but we're not getting necessarily warm and fuzzies on some of our funding sources based on the world we live in today, so there's a potential that it would take a little bit longer to build it out. Trust me, if we had all the money right now, we'd be doing it today. I mean, it's not that we're trying to drag it out, it's just, we need to make sure that we.
This may be a question for the attorney, but can we approve this conditional use permit without an end date?
Yes, you can, because the conditional use permits are permanent. They flow with the land.
So, obviously, do you even have some idea, like, what's phase 1? Is it gonna happen this year?
Yeah, so right now, the first two items that we want to check off that we're preparing a bid package for now is number 6 there, which is an expansion of that garden house, and then the new sugar shack, number 7. So those will go out for public bid here soon. And then the pricing that we get back on that is gonna determine what we have money to do, what we can't do. That'll kind of set the table for the rest of it.
So any parking lot lighting projected for this year?
Nope, not as part of the first package.
So Tom, will they keep coming back to us when the phases?
No, what's proposed is the board has the whole package there in front of them, and what we do is adopt a zoning certificate for a conditional use permit and adopt the plans that they've submitted. So our expectation would be they would build it out to this. If they want to modify things, relocate some things, they do need to come back to the board for a new conditional use permit, identifying the changes to what was the adopted plan.
Mr. Chair, to kind of expand on my answer to your last question, once you approve a conditional use permit, that permit is permanent, unless you put some limitations on it.
Well, my concern is so we keep the residents appraised, or at least advised of what's going on. Because if it's everything at once, then they know it. If it's gonna be piecemealed, then they know it. Otherwise, it avoids a lot of conflict with us, with residents calling the township, wanting to know what's going on. So it's nice for us to know exactly what's happening and when, so.
So like, we could get advance notice, hey, this year we've got scheduled, or we've received funding to do this, this, and this. We plan on doing it in the next X amount of time.
Right, and that would be obviously the responsibility of Ramsey County, keeping in touch with Tom, so we can keep our website, updated, and it just more informative for us.
Yep.
Because it just alleviates a lot of questions, and especially, like I said, if anything changes in that area, that is getting to be really busy. And now they're scheduled for road improvements this year, so
Yep.
there's gonna be a lot of commotion going on around there, so.
Yep. No, that's absolutely fair. Obviously, we work closely with Tom and would continue to do that. If we need to come back to a information session or anything for the public as well, we're certainly more than willing to do
Okay.
that.
Any other questions of them?
No, the traffic item that I mentioned is really COVID-related. There's been so much more neighborhood foot traffic crossing Otter Lake Road,
Yep.
walking. And when you did your last expansion, the traffic studies said that it didn't warrant any other traffic changes there. And, it's a great amenity. I'm all for it, and I understand that, I'm happy with what's going on here. I just had to point out that neighbors are concerned of the traffic, and whether they said it or not today or tomorrow, it may come up again.
Sure.
So just heads up, that could be an issue.
Well, it is hugely popular, especially
It
with
is.
the deer.
Hell, yeah.
It's a great amenity. So, okay, I have no
Right.
other questions.
You good, Scott? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else that would wish to speak to this proposed CUP?
They're gonna stretch it out just long enough for you to rotate back to serving on the planning commission, Ed.
No. All right, hearing none. I would look for a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll move to close the public portion of the hearing.
Second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? So if there are no other questions of Tom, I would look for a motion for approval.
I'll make a motion based on the planning commission and staff review and recommendation, approve the conditional use permit, zoning certificate, and requirements for the Tamarack Nature Center, 5287 Otter Lake Road.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, thanks, sir. Good luck.
Only the deer are opposed.
All right, moving on, we have another public hearing, right-of-way setback variance request for 2317 Oaksey. Again, I would need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll make a motion to waive the reading.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And then I need a motion to open the public hearing.
I'll move to open the public hearing.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, Tom.
Okay, this property is located on Hoxie Avenue, between Hoxie and East Balding Boulevard. You have one of the few functioning alleys in the township that is paved and plowed by the town. So this is the home right here, 2317. Alley right here. You see you have a number of garages built fairly closely to the alley, serviced off of the alley. And the applicants are looking at demolishing this existing garage, which has seen its better days, and would like to replace it with another garage in approximately the same location. Garage is proposed to be 32 feet wide by 26 feet deep. They'd like to construct it 10 feet from the alley right-of-way. Now, we don't differentiate setback requirements from alleys and regular streets. It's a setback from a public right-of-way that's required to be 35 feet. Because they want to set that 10 feet from the right-of-way, it requires approval of a 25-foot right-of-way setback variance. In addition, they would like to get a little closer to the south lot line and place the garage 6 feet from the side, where a 7.5-foot setback is required. So two variances being requested, the 10-foot right-of-way setback and the 1.5-foot side yard setback variance. Several variances approved, most notably at 2315. This was a 9-foot setback from the alleyway. That was approved not too many years ago, so that's the most similar to this one here. Reviewed by the Variance Board and Planning Commission, and both variances were recommended for approval as requested. Just a quick shot of the property here. So this is the location of the garage. You can see 6 feet from the side lot line, 10 foot from the alleyway.
That's 6 foot, Tom. What's the distance between that and the next building?
I want to say it's 6 feet,
So there's 12 between them?
so it should be 12, I believe, yeah.
Don't we prefer to at least have 10 for emergency services, whatever?
I don't know if we've selected a number.
I always thought 10 was a utility easement, and it was also trying to keep between buildings, but
Sure. Well, that would make sense. Typical new subdivisions have 10-foot drainage and utility easements around the perimeter, so typically homes or garages are a minimum of 20 feet apart. These are narrow lots of record here, 60 feet. I think the one to the south is even narrower, so that would have a 6-foot setback requirement. At one time, the side setback for undersized lots of record, and this is 60 feet wide, 80 is considered a normal-sized lot. The setback was 6 feet for any structure. 10 or so years ago, we went to a proportionate ratio based on the width of the lot. And with a 60-foot wide lot, the side setback is now 7.5 feet. Too much information?
Is that all you got?
That's it.
Steve?
Nope, I have no questions.
Yeah.
I guess I just had one question about the number of variances you're requesting, because on page 164, it's just approving a 25-foot right-of-way setback, but I think you just mentioned 2.
Yeah, and the minutes reflect that. I think it was just the the cover sheet there that left out the 1.5-foot side setback
Okay.
variance, but there are 2 requests.
All right,
And both of those requests were reviewed by the Variance Board and Planning Commission.
okay.
Tom, I know once you put a garage within 6 feet of a house, it has to be fire rated. That doesn't apply with any of these garages, does it?
Be at least 6-foot separation, so I don't believe that will.
Okay. Was anyone else involved in reviewing this? Would the fire department want to look at that, or anybody else?
Just Variance Board, which includes the building inspector
Okay.
and the Planning Commission.
All right, any other questions of Tom?
No.
All right, hearing none, I would look for a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll move to open it up for public comment.
I'll second that.
Motion made and second, all in favor say aye.
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 That motion, Pat, is there anyone here to speak to this? You've just approached the podium, state your name and address for the record.
Gentry Jordan, 23717 Hoxie. Am I supposed to say anything regarding it?
You should say you hate the idea and you don't want to do it.
I think we should approve it quickly. No.
Oh, that's a good one.
Okay. I spoke with the 2315 neighbors, and my lot line actually goes on, there's a fence or surrounding my property. And they put trees up outside of that fence on basically what would look like their side of the lot. But my lot actually continues onto visually their lot. It's kind of confusing a little bit, I guess, but imagine if you had a fence around a property, you would think that that fence line was a, separating factor. So I went and talked to them, told them what I was planning, and they have a plan to put up a privacy wall themselves. So I rented a metal detector, found the lot stake, and we kind of did it together and found the number together, what we thought made sense, and as far as putting up their fence in my garage. And
I did drive down there, and it was a little confusing to try to figure out what was going on there, but
yeah,
as long as the fence is on your property.
it is, yeah.
All right, any other comments or questions you have for us?
Nope.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Does anyone else wish to speak to this? Hearing none, I would look for a motion to close the public portion.
Move to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll second that.
Motion made second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? All right, no other questions of Tom? Looks like you have a couple of variance requests here. Steve, you were at the variance board meeting.
Yes. You want to do it as one, or do you want to do this,
Was that?
do it separately, each part? Or,
I think that you can make one motion with both those, can we?
You could.
if there's, yeah. I'll move to approve the 25-foot right-of-way setback and the 1.5-foot side yard setback variance to allow construction of a new garage at 2317 Hoxie.
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second, all in favor say aye.
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 Aye, all opposed? That motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you. I can go?
Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you guys for your time.
No, you gotta stay for the whole meeting. No, no.
No.
All right, we have a third public hearing. This one is for a right-of-way setback variance request at 2731 Stillwater Street. Again, I need a motion to waive the reading.
I'll move to waive the reading.
I will second that.
Motion made and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
And then I need a motion to open up the public portion.
I'll move to open up the public hearing.
I will second that.
All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? All right, Tom.
Okay, a property located in the White Bear Beach neighborhood, right at the corner of East County Line Road and Stillwater Street. The driveway fronts on East County Line Road here. And applicants are wanting to get a variance that would allow them to construct a shed in the front yard, 2 front yards here, right up to the East County Line Road right-of-way right here. The right-of-way on East County Line is 40 feet from center line to the property. Typical public right-of-way for a street like this would be 30 feet, so there's about 10 feet additional right-of-way here to work with. The property is situated kind of on a little bluff or up on a hill. Likely you wouldn't see too much of the shed here from East County Line Road. Across Stillwater, additional homes, and then you have White Bear Lake over here. Applicants looked at several options for the shed, planning to do an addition onto the home, so they looked at a couple different sites but landed on this one. Also considered expanding the existing garage, but what's wrong with this picture? It's 9 feet onto the neighboring property. It's making addition to that basically just impossible or too difficult without purchase of property. So 35-foot right-of-way setback required for any structure. They would like to go right up to the line with this corner, so this is a request for a 35-foot right-of-way setback variance. Was reviewed and recommended for approval by both the Variance Board and Planning Commission. So that's the variance request. Second request is they have an existing chain link fence. They would like to expand that right up to the edge of the hill. Drops down to East County Line Road here. It's fairly wooded. Makes sense to bring it down to this point here. It's about 10 feet into the right-of-way, and then wrap it back here also. It's just how the yard is set up there with a large tree and a tire swing. If they were to put that fence along the right-of-way here, or along the property line, that tree would be on the other side of the fence as proposed. So looking for special town permission to allow the fence to go within the right-of-way. Willing to send a license, or the applicants are willing to sign a license agreement that acknowledges that the fence is within the right-of-way, and, you know, if we need to get in there to do any work, it would be vulnerable. So, but they are willing to sign an agreement that says that, and I believe that's in your package.
Which means they'd be responsible for any costs incurred to take down and remove and replace or whatever?
Exactly.
Have
And
we ever
obviously, we try to give them notice, as much notice as possible if we saw that it had to.
Have we ever done this before? Chad, I mean, I don't remember ever granting a license agreement for putting structures into the right-of-way.
You don't really need to, actually, because assuming that the lot lines run the way I think they run, based on this, they must, they actually own the right to the center of the street, so they can still use the right-of-way any way they want, as long as it doesn't interfere with the township's rights to, you know, in the future. The license agreement's a good idea, though, because under law, if for any reason the town decided it wanted to use that entire right-of-way, they would have the right to remove any structure, including fences. So this at least makes it a little clearer where it stands.
Would that travel with the land then, not
That's
the
what I was
owner?
gonna ask, does it travel?
Licenses normally don't. Licenses are personal to the individuals involved. But again, in this situation, because the right-of-way accrues, you know, the right-of-way accrues to the property, subject to the rights of the town to use the right-of-way. Okay, let me explain it this way. They actually are the fee owners of the right-of-way, subject to the right of the town to use the right-of-way for public purpose. So if the town wanted to expand East County Line, it could. If the town wanted to put a utility in there, it could. If the town decided it had to redo the slopes, it could. Until the town decides to do that and actually use it, they have the right to use that area.
If they sell that property and a new owner takes that property, does that's, I guess is the question, does it travel to the next owner? Because this is an agreement between this owner and the township that any costs incurred are not going to be borne by us. What about the future?
Legally, it doesn't. Practically, it's a good idea, because practically, once you record this, anyone who's taking a look at the records will see this and puts them on notice. But legally, no. No one else is bound by this. You're simply bound by existing statutory law and case law.
Well, as long as there's something to trigger the future buyer to realize that this is in place, so,
Yeah. Well, that's what this would do.
okay.
Okay, I'm good then.
Doesn't really do a whole lot, but it's a good idea. It's a great notice doc, is what it really is.
All right, any other questions of Tom or the attorney?
Nope.
Hearing none, I would look for a motion to open up for public comment.
I'll move to open it up for public comment.
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. Is there anyone here that would wish to speak to this? Just state your name and address for the record.
Abby Whitman, 2731 Stillwater Street. About the fence, I am fully willing to have it recorded against the property for transparency's sake. I came to Tom with this. I know it's not a customary request, but it is a very steep slope, and we have a 3-year-old. We'd like to just enclose what is the usable space that we're trying to mow, maintain, keep undesirable space separated. Regarding the variance, we have been at this process for about 2 years, trying to look at how we can expand the pretty tiny footprint of the house, the existing garage. And after we had the property surveyed, we learned that we had a lot more limitations than we realized. We're not looking for necessarily a standard garden shed. We need additional garage space. So it is essentially another single-car garage to house vehicles, or a vehicle. It's not the most desirable to have this out in the kind of backyard, but it is the backyard. If you come to the site, it really has the feel of a backyard. It's pretty wooded through there and pretty minimally visible, and so we didn't necessarily think that it placed any sort of undue hardship on the neighborhood. So I'm here to answer any questions you might have.
Is the neighbor aware that that one shed's off the property line?
Yes,
Okay.
yes, yep. In fact, they had told me that after I purchased the property, and I kind of thought, well, why would my fence extend? And then we had it surveyed and realized that, yes, it does.
How long has it been there?
I think the earliest aerial I found it on was from the 50s.
Okay.
So the garage used to be below the hill on Stillwater Street. There's a set of stairs, and then at some point they built it up there. So.
Well, it's nice to have the neighbors all aware of it, so there's no surprises
Yeah,
later.
yeah.
Do you have any questions of the applicant?
No.
Yeah. All right, thanks, Abby.
Thank you.
All right, obviously, there's no one else here, so I don't think anybody else wants to speak to this.
Look like it.
All right, I need a motion to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll move to close the public portion of the hearing.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye, all opposed. All right, if there's no other questions or comments, I would look for a motion.
I'll make a motion based on the variance board, the planning commission, and staff review and recommendations. Approve a 35-foot right-of-way setback variance to allow construction of a shed and a fence, and approve the license agreement for the placement of the fence within the road right-of-way.
I will second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? Motion carries. Good luck.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
You bet.
All right, moving on.
Mr. Chair?
We're moving on.
Wow.
Wow. Sharp tongue.
Yes, Patrick.
Why don't we, I know we had assigned our added agenda item to 8F. Why don't we have that done now? Well, I mean, Tom's probably the one that can speak to this, but the best. Right, Tom?
Affirmative.
Do we have to have a motion to change our agenda or not?
No, I don't think so.
Can we
Do
jump
do
ship?
Chad?
Chad?
I would really recommend you do a change your agenda.
Okay.
All right, so we're gonna,
You need a motion to alter our agenda by moving 8F up in front of item 8A.
Yes. So
I'll
it'll
move
be
to make a change to our agenda for tonight's meeting to move 8F
7D,
up in front of what?
up to 7D.
7D,
Yes.
as in David.
Yep.
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
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 Thank you,
I
Mr.
don't
Chair.
know if I want to say.
Oh, is this so that Tom can leave after he's done?
No, Tom's gonna stay to the bitter end.
I just wondered.
I'm just kidding.
All right,
To be determined.
Gotcha.
all right, Tom, I guess you're on now.
All righty, another variance. We had 3 of them this, at the last planning commission meeting, so this is the last one. We're looking at 5731 Birch Road here in the Benson's Bay neighborhood. Several homes on long, narrow lots, undersized widths, square footage. See a number of variances here. And this property at 5731 is being purchased by a new homeowners, planning a living quarters addition and a garage addition onto the front of the home. Okay, so this would be the addition here with the proposed garage. Originally, this was a request for a green area variance and a side yard setback variance from this side. They have modified the plans, so the side yard setback variance isn't, no longer necessary, but they are looking at a 38% coverage on the site, which is a 13% green area variance. Lakeshore properties, maximum coverage allowed is 25%. They are looking to cover 38%. They have reduced some of that coverage area by using permeable pavers and things of that nature rather than paving as was originally requested. So 13% green area variance being requested. We looked at some of the other homes in the neighborhood and past variances that have been approved, basically up and down the line here. Typically, green area variances at a maximum of 13%, dropping down to about 7%, I think, and anywhere in between. I think the average was about 10% green area variances for the homes just along this area right here. So consistent with what's proposed with this home at 5731. And again, what's being requested is a 13% green area variance, reviewed by both the Variance Board and Planning Commission, and both bodies have recommended approval as requested. I should say that originally the coverage was a little bit more than 13%. Working with the applicants, they did reduce that down to the 13%.
Tom, I remember this area's had some drainage issues.
Yes, there's, it's kind of low in this area here, and this property owner has stated his concerns with the building inspector relative to drainage, because this one was built up when it was reconstructed a few years ago.
Can you move your slide over a little?
Good
Your pen
idea.
is off the, thank you.
Thank you. So a little bit higher for this property draining this way. Property owners are aware of the drainage concerns expressed by this home, and they are going to direct the water towards the lake, towards the right-of-way, rather than down the slope to this property. So a little bit of grading, retaining wall, gutters, directing the water away from flowing southerly.
And is Mike comfortable with what they're planning to make sure that there's no
Yeah, he
dispute
addressed,
in the future here?
he addressed that specifically. He's the one who's working with the two
All right.
property owners.
All right, any questions to Tom?
No.
Well, again, this was a planning commission recommendation, Steve, but you've been
Yes, it
busy.
was. In the variance board. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Based on the variance board, planning commission, and staff review and recommendations, approve the request for a 13% green area variance to allow construction of a home addition, driveway, and sidewalk, with a note that there were drainage issues that was pointed out that the neighbors are working together cooperatively with their building inspector to resolve those.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion's made and seconded, all in favor, say aye.
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 Aye, all opposed? And motion carries. All right, back to our regularly scheduled program.
Well played, sir.
Item 8A, new business, it is Water Gremlin, 4400 Arlick Road. I'm sure some people might not know where Water Gremlin is, so
Right.
I better give the address.
I'm glad you clarified that for the folks watching at home.
Okay, this is the Water Gremlin North Campus building right here. This is Otter Lake Road. Whitaker Avenue is just right up here off the screen. And I've heard some history of Water Gremlin and some of the problems they've had. Some of the sites being remediated, they have some vapor, harmful vapor below the building, and they're trying to extract that out of the ground. They've been doing that via a vapor mitigation trailer on site. I found they're going to have to it's going to have to be there for a little bit longer, so they're proposing a permanent, not a permanent, but a temporary 12 by 15 size metal structure that would have the vapor mitigation equipment in it. It's 8 feet high. It's a steel building. And it would be mounted on Healy piles screwed into the ground and not attached to the building, but just located off that north corner of the building right here. Again, it's a vapor mitigation building. I believe it's required by the MPCA to help with their cleanup. Be a building that's temporary again, but it could be there for a couple years. That's why we've run this through the permitted use standards process. It's 8 foot high, and again, a temporary building. You can see the location right there on the north side of the building. Water Gremlin operates under a permitted use standards permit, so they are requesting approval of a new permitted use standards permit that would adopt, in addition to what's there, this particular structure, in addition to those other structures out there.
Did the planning commission get any elevations of this building?
We
What
did.
it looks like, or?
Yeah, they did. It unfortunately didn't copy on to 8.5, or I couldn't get it to copy on to 8.5 by 11, but it's a fairly unattractive structure. It's just a metal cube, basically, 8 feet high. It's fairly well screened on that portion of the site. Quite a few, there's a wooded area in this area right here, and they've done a lot of landscaping over in here too. So obviously it's open, you can see it from Whitaker, but it is fairly well screened, because I believe it's, I want to say it's 150 feet between the right-of-way and where the structure would be
What do you mean by
located.
steel building? Is it corrugated metal?
No, it's looks like it's just a steel.
Not a pole barn look, is it?
No, it's not corrugated, it's solid metal, painted brown to match the building. And, yeah, like I said, I did get some pictures of what it looks like, but they just did not copy.
Is it a flat roof?
It is a flat roof.
And then, obviously, is this thing venting to the outside? What does it exactly do?
There, you're getting technical for me on that there.
I mean, are there just filters, or does it actually vent out?
There's a lot of equipment inside there, so I think what it takes is the bad air out of the ground, sucks it up through this and purifies it. Yeah, that's
Do we need to
a
know
weak
more about
planner
that?
description
Well,
there
I guess
versus a
obviously if
scientist,
the, if the MPCA is in charge of it, I'm just kind of curious as if there's filters that got to be replaced every so often. I'm sure there must be a schedule of maintenance required for this thing, and,
but gotta be, yeah.
but I got to believe this is all covered under their jurisdiction.
Yeah, it's all MPCA who's requiring this and monitoring it, and we're just looking at a permitted use standards permit to place the structure on site.
Well, because I just want to be very clear, I mean, when this all started 2 years ago, I vowed not to let them expand anything, and now we're putting a building on it.
Well, I think the thing to keep in mind, though, is that the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency is deeming them, that they have to do this.
I understand it.
And so I don't view this as an expansion. I think of this as part of the mitigation process. Just for your information, Sherry Hastings, was on the phone with the Planning Commission, and she had a couple questions directed at the Water Gremlin people, and she left satisfied that this has to be done, and they weren't objecting to this because it's controlled by the MPCA, for what it's worth.
Well, like I said, as long as the township's informed and knows exactly what's happening, the protocol, the maintenance schedules, so at least we're not in the dark about this mystery building on the side of the, I mean, it would be kind of nice for us to be and have a little more information on that.
The difficulty is that temporary is beyond 30, 60, 90 days. It could be years, and
Right.
it's when the MPCA decides that it no longer is necessary. So,
Well,
You could always revisit the issue in 4 years or something if you wanted to.
well, I think, just put that in the approval, that we can,
But this is a permitted use, so to a great extent, you don't have a right to put a lot of controls on it, but you could always, make a note to revisit this and, revisit this permit in 4 years.
as it relates to this
this structure only.
I think you guys should.
Well, I think that makes sense. I didn't know that we could do that. But
So do I,
Well,
because they,
again, you don't have a whole lot of control because it is a permitted use, but you might as, it can't hurt to put it in there.
I think for our purposes and for the residents, we at least review it or take a look at it again. Because this temporary permanent is a real vague, it's a lawyer term, isn't it?
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree with you. Temporary could be, because of the MPCA, this thing could be there indefinitely. And
It could.
indefinitely could mean years.
But then the reality is that if the MPCA says it's going to be there for 20 years, it's they're they're the ones in charge of their final determination.
If the structure, if the whole use is designed to remediate a pollution issue, yeah, they would have the right to override it, whatever we say, whatever the town says.
As part of this, if it is deemed no longer needed, can you put some standard in there to have it removed immediately?
It's what you could say, at such time as the MPCA deems it's no longer necessary.
I just hate to see that, yeah, it's no longer necessary, so they take all the equipment out and then leave the building. And all of a sudden now it's a storage box or whatever.
Yeah.
There's no reason why you can't amend, add language to the resolution stating that this permitted use permit will cease upon termination of the
Minnesota Pollution
Commission
Control
Pollution
Agency.
Control Agency directive.
Oh, I'd prefer to
I feel a
do
little
that.
better with that.
I feel better with that.
Otherwise, are there any other questions?
Nope.
Steve, you want to tackle that one?
Sure. Based on the Planning Commission and staff review and recommendations, approve the permitted use standards permit with attached requirements which will allow construction of a vapor mitigation structure room addition at Water Gremlin 4400 Otter Lake Road with the understanding that it's a temporary structure controlled and directed by the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency and will be deemed removable once that has been cleared by the Minnesota Pollution
I
Control
would
Agency.
say not deemed removal, it will be removed.
Will be removed. Once the Minnesota Pollution Control Agency deemed it no longer necessary.
I will second that motion.
All right, motion's made second, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion passes. Moving on. Item 8B, the Libel Street Stormwater Improvement Project.
Thanks, Tom.
I did hear dismissed.
See you at the office tomorrow.
I thought he had to stay.
All right, Larry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Every year, the township completes stormwater improvements throughout the township to maintain its stormwater system. This year, we're looking at a project off Libel Street. Libel Street is north of the airport on the east side of the township, near the northern border. The pipe and ditch conditions are poor, and they drain or provide stormwater for Libel Street. It crosses Hugo Road, runs down Hugo Road, and discharges into Bald Eagle Lake. This project is identified because there's poor pipes, including inlets and outlets, and ditch improvements that need to be made for the area. This project went to the Utility Commission for review and was recommended for moving forward. So tonight we're looking for approval to complete the plans and specifications, and once they're completed, they will be brought to you for authorization to go out for bid ahead of that. So looking for approval for TKDA to perform the work for a not-to-exceed price of $5,800 to complete the plans and specifications for the project.
All right, any questions, comments?
Is this a 2021 project then, or, Larry,
2020,
next year?
no,
Or
this would
this year?
be, I think, the idea is to complete it this year.
Okay, because otherwise,
Scott, got anything?
Nope.
You heard it all before, right?
Yeah, actually, this is your
It is.
expertise, Scott.
So I know it's something that Dale's been talking about periodically, and I'm glad to see it's on the docket. So based on town engineer and staff review and recommendation, I move to authorize TKDA to prepare plans and specifications for the Libel Street stormwater improvements, including the bidding process.
I have a second on the motion?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed?
And based on town engineer and staff review and recommendation, I move to authorize advertisement for bids.
I have a second on that?
Second?
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All right, motion passes. When will that go out? Right away, Larry, or?
It would come back to you, the plans would come back to you within a month, month and a half.
All right. Moving on, we have improvements 2020-5 for Otter Ridge Circle.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Otter Ridge Circle has been discussed at various meetings, executive board meetings, to possibly include for this year's work, kind of tying it in with Peterson Road if that moves forward. Otter Lake Circle has streets that are out of alignment in terms of their condition compared to the rest of the neighborhood. And there's been some discussion amongst people that live there to get that improved. In 2014, a feasibility study was prepared for this area in conjunction with a number of other areas for street improvements. And ultimately, that project in 2014 did not move forward. So we're looking at it again. We use the information from the last study in 2014 to prepare this quickly for you. And before you is the feasibility report. And the feasibility report, if you remember Peterson Road last week or 2 weeks ago, it's very similar in structure. Talks about the background, the existing conditions, proposed improvements, and estimated costs. And we prepared two options for you for your consideration. Reclamation, which is we keep the existing curbs as much as possible. Some settled curbs or cracked curbs would be replaced, but the curb lines, for the most part, stay in place. And then we remove the entire pavement section and replace that. That's reclamation. The other option is a mill and overlay, where we'd mill the edges of the roadway and then repave a new surface. The costs for both options, reclamation was $156,400, and for a mill and overlay, $136,400. So they're really not that far off in terms of pricing. When you move on to the assessments, for a reclamation project, you have a higher benefit. You have a better product for the roadway, so you can assess a higher rate. We're showing $7,500 per parcel. There's 11 parcels on this project, and it is a short segment of street, but there's a circle involved. So there's extra curb line, extra pavement involved with this project. So the costs for this project are maybe a little higher than you'd see on the same length or the same number of homes in an area, because you have that extra loop in the roadway structure. So $7,500 is what we'd recommend for assessments for the reclamation project. For a mill and overlay, we just did a project last year for mill and overlay, and we're more in the $3,000 to $4,000 per unit for mill and overlay. So you can bring those assessment numbers down to a funding table, and you can see that there are certain elements that are paid for by the water fund, sanitary sewer, and storm fund. Assessments for reclamation total $82,500 for reclamation, with township funds of $68,100. If you went the mill and overlay option, the water, sanitary, and storm funds are the same. Assessments would be 4,400, or 44,000, and general, township general fund 86,600. So while the costs are less for the mill and overlay overall, the amount the township general fund pays is higher for the mill and overlay.
Larry, what's that street rated?
It's in here. It's in the report, I believe.
I don't
It's
have it.
199, or 1.99.
For some reason, I don't have the feasibility report. Do you?
Yes,
It's in the Dropbox.
it was in the Dropbox.
I have an
It's a
extra,
separate item.
I have a copy here if you'd like a copy.
How did I miss that?
How about that?
I missed it.
I got it, thank you. The street rating, I guess I'm curious, what is the surrounding
Yeah.
street ratings as well? And
They were 2 to 3 points higher.
so will this then get onto track, so the next time the cycle comes around for the surrounding streets, this can be included then?
That's kind of the idea going into this. I think a reclamation would perform better and longer, which it may not. It'd probably be in better condition when the other streets come into time for improvement. The other surrounding streets also don't have curb and gutter. This area does. It was developed years after the neighboring streets. So
So it's always been on a different cycle?
it's always been on a different cycle.
Will the reclamation, there are the last time we had a discussion about this, there were soil issues in a couple different spots. So the hope here is that this reclamation will deal with that soil.
I think the reclamation will deal with that better, and it was also the recommendation in 2014. A geotechnical engineer looked at this area and was recommending a reclamation. And that reclamation takes the existing pavement and grinds it into the soil beneath it, and then you remove the layer you need to for the new asphalt, but it adds that aggregate into the soil.
And the second question has to do with, that has a center green space?
Yes.
With curb and gutter?
Yes.
Is that townships, or is that the associate, who has, where is that part?
Township right away, but it's maintained by the neighbors in
So
that area.
the assessment for that area around the inside, or the curb and gutter for that piece, is that ours then, townships? If it's maintained, we service it,
Well, we assess the,
landowners?
we don't assign a unit for that common area. It's just assessed to the 11 properties
Okay,
along the route.
got it, okay.
That wouldn't be damaged during construction, would it? They wouldn't start using it as a staging area or a...
No, it's treated. This project is more, removing spot pieces of curb. There wouldn't be need to have a staging for that. The other two sections are preliminary schedule and conclusions and recommendations. So if approved tonight, we would hold a neighborhood meeting sometime either late June or early July, and then this would come back to you July 20th for a public hearing. I should also mention that the pricing that we've put together is for a standalone project. If we bid this with Peterson Road, for example, or other projects, it might bring those costs down.
Well, I think that was your intent originally, wasn't it,
Yes,
Steve?
that was my intent originally.
Well, I thought the southeast road work was going to be busy enough this year, but I guess looking to add more.
Well, there's a time for pricing, let's take advantage of what the
Yep.
marketplace is, and
That's why this is up for discussion this year.
So tonight, are we looking to make decisions on which option, or just to approve this,
Approve the
the feasibility?
feasibility report and schedule the public hearing and neighborhood meeting.
So you want 3 different actions here? There any other
Yes. questions
questions or comments before we? All right, because the first is motion to adopt the resolution.
Yes. I'll move based on town engineer review and recommendation, adopt the resolution receiving the report for a street improvement dealing with Otter Ridge Circle.
I'll second that motion.
Motion's made and second, all in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? That motion carries. Second one is calling for neighborhood meeting.
I'll make a motion to call a neighborhood meeting as soon as practical for the affected properties dealing with Otter Ridge Circle.
I will second that.
Would that be here at Heritage Hall, the meeting?
The public hearing?
No, the neighborhood meeting.
Oh, yeah, they both would.
And we're looking at having that not this Wednesday, but the following, correct? Is that what we decided on? I think so.
Is that, I don't have my calendar.
Yeah, I think it was,
It says
Well, I
as soon as practical.
It's just,
we were saying the 24th. We've got one already this Wednesday.
I'm just getting it, so we want to clarify it so we don't conflict with Gem Lake, is all I'm saying.
Jim Lake has nothing here this month.
Okay. Well, the motion's been made and seconded. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed? And then you can figure out the timing on it.
The
for us.
24th was right.
Hey!
Yep.
Hey, don't say, don't encourage him.
He knows it happens so rarely, he wants to give me some.
What is it, a stopped clock is right once a day?
Twice, actually.
Oh, there you go.
Oh, you were close, Scott.
Oh, you screwed it up, Scott.
All right, and then the third motion is adopt the resolution calling for a public hearing.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution calling for a hearing on improvement 2020-5, noting the hearing date of July 20th, 2020 at 7 PM at Hammond, Hammond Room. No.
Heritage Hall.
No, Heritage Hall. See, now I'm confused. Heritage Hall at 7
Do I have a
PM.
second on the motion?
I will second that.
All right, all in favor, say aye.
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 All right. That it, Lair?
One more for you. Stable property
Oh, yeah,
feasibility.
let's, you know, for some reason, I thought that was done.
I'm glad you said that.
I
'cause
would've
thought
swore-
we went through this.
At the ADAB, I would have swore this was done.
We haven't done anything. I related a feasibility study.
Not.
So I know, Larson Engineering prepared the plans for the project.
Yes. I think we have most of the data that we need to do a feasibility report based upon past work. But we have not done an official feasibility report, and on our attorney's counsel is completing part of the bid process for the property. We should have a feasibility report in hand to distribute to whomever it is that's interested.
And I agree with, yeah, that's correct.
Well, so is this just a matter of putting all this stuff together? Because you have all the information?
Yeah, assembling it, we need to do a cost estimate for the work. That hasn't, or compute the quantities and a cost estimate for the work. It's probably the bulk of what we're looking at here for the feasibility report. And then assembling all the drawings and data into a report.
All right.
We'd like to have a single document to distribute as well.
No, I understand, but is that, what we're talking about, that's reflective in that $4,400 price?
Yeah, that's the one that Jim gave us. Yep.
I know there was some comment about fill for the property, and was it SMC that said they have a bunch sitting around?
It's more topsoil, right? Yeah.
Oh, it's not fill?
Not good fill dirt.
No.
We've got some inquiries out there looking for something.
And we do have that figure, that amount of volume of material.
I'm sure
that we
any-
can use in the report for computing the earthwork. But the other quantities for the curb and pavement and that and piping beneath the road would need to be quantitized and put into a estimate.
Okay, because I'm sure that's kind of a big piece of the puzzle if somebody's looking at this property, so, is the fill amount.
And we posted officially for the bid process last Wednesday,
Saw that.
so.
Are they busting down the doors?
Yeah.
Phone lines, anyway.
Yeah.
Great.
Okay.
All right,
Got two parts.
is that what you got, Larry?
Yeah, so we're looking for authorization to proceed with that feasibility report. We have a not-to-exceed figure of $4,400 to do that work.
All right, do I have a motion?
I'll make a motion based on the town engineer and staff review and recommendation, authorize TKDA to prepare a feasibility report for a total amount not to exceed $4,400.
I will second that.
All right, motion's made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries.
I'll make a motion to adopt the resolution ordering preparation of a report on a street and utility improvement.
I will second that.
Motion's made and seconded, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And that motion carries. All right,
Thank you.
that concludes our normal agenda.
It
Any more
does?
surprises, Patrick?
We have general business.
Yeah, you haven't got the general business.
That's my surprise, it's on your agenda.
Yeah, 8E.
Oh, never mind, sorry.
Guess somebody's anxious to,
Yeah. Okay, who's gonna handle that one?
Do you have, actually, to be honest with you, I haven't read the background on this one.
I don't know, Tom, you gonna do that one? Did they approach you, or?
Well, if I may, it's simply a permit pursuant to your ordinance dealing with use of motorized golf carts on township
There you go.
streets. That's all it is, and everything, the report is consistent with what you allow under your own ordinance.
so why do we need to look at it?
Because the ordinance calls for an annual permit.
That's right, you need a
Issued by
permit.
the town board.
Yep.
So,
Yeah, I know, it seems a little odd, but it's buried in there, and that's what the ordinance calls for, is an annual permit.
This is a government, it's redundant.
I was surprised to see that we had an ordinance regulating golf carts on streets.
Yeah, but did you see when it was initiated? 1973. I didn't recognize anybody who signed that.
Actually, it makes sense because, definition of motorized vehicles under Minnesota statutes doesn't necessarily cover golf carts as far as I know. Back in '73, I can't say for sure, it was in high school, so.
We've had other requests before, but it's
Us too.
been many years.
Well, when we're on that subject, I know they have to have that slow-moving vehicle sign thing. Are they required to have turn signals?
I don't
'Cause they're on a
believe
road?
so.
I really couldn't tell you.
I saw it nowhere in the ordinance when I read it, but it seems odd that you've got a motorized vehicle, which I assume almost all of them are electric.
If it means anything to you, Mr. Chair, when I worked at the city of Wanamingo, people are very touchy about being allowed to have their golf carts in the roads, and they also demand that they don't have to have turn signals. Therefore, the ordinance reflected that. That's all I-
But again, are they all electric? I've seen golf carts with motors in them, and I mean, these golf carts look like vintage 57 Chevys too, so. I'm just saying, I think it would be advisable that maybe public safety reviews this ordinance and tries to get up to speed a little bit from 1973.
There's about 30 different ordinances that we have that could use that kind of updating. And as soon as we resume some normalcy here, that is part of one of our objectives this year. So yes.
Yes, Mr. Chair, that's music to my ear. We should modernize our ordinances as pointed out by,
Well, and it brings it up only when you do have, applications that come in.
Yep.
When you look at the ordinance, like, wow, that's been a long time ago.
I don't remember us getting one at all last year for the golf cart. So this is new to me.
no, but
Ever?
I can't remember ever doing one.
I was going to say ever.
One in the beach neighborhood, I believe in the 90s was the last one I remember.
I hate to say it, but most people just go ahead and use the road and don't say anything.
I was gonna say that probably is a little item you can put in your little clerk's corner that they
No,
are.
I'll be encouraging it.
Well, it's
I've
too-
seen
it's
them.
too late, it's public record now.
These are good law-abiding citizens who want to go by the book.
No, and I applaud them for that.
They
But
are. I applaud them.
I do have a question on that, because in this application, they show their driver's licenses.
Ooh, yeah.
And I don't think, no, obviously it's not public record only to us, but I don't know if we should be,
I think it is public record.
It is public record.
their driver's licenses?
If it's part of the data and and the permit's part of the public record.
Okay.
I guess you won't be getting one, huh?
I'm gonna have a big motor. All right, are there any other questions on this?
No.
Hearing none, I would look for a motion to approve.
Based on staff review and recommendation, approve the issuance of a permit allowing operation of a motorized golf cart on town roads for a period of 1 year from June 15th, 2020 through June 14th, 2021, with the conditions of the permit being acknowledged by the applicant by way of their signatures on the permit.
Do we have to add that, or did they have, that they had insurance?
She covered that. She, in the notes attached to this, Patty has that, and this insurance information is in the packet.
Okay.
So
All right,
I'd say
motion's been made. Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
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 Aye. All opposed? All right, that motion carries. Now are we done?
We are.
I was going to ask you.
All right, open time, obviously, there's no one here, so we'll move on to, I need a motion to receive agenda materials and supplements.
So moved?
I'll second that.
Motion's made and second. All in favor, say aye.
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 All opposed? That motion carries. I need a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
You have a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned at 8:21.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Be Skippy.